Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking. Many years ago, when I first got into the whole designer board game hobby, there was like this low rumbling, if you will, about this card game that existed out there that was called Scripts and the Scribes. And everybody talked about it, how the game was absolutely fantastic, it was amazing, and of course it was something that there was maybe 7 copies in existence or something. But it was created by this guy named Steve Finn, or Dr. Finn, or he goes by a lot of different names. And I remember I had heard about it, and there was a lot of people that I kind of followed and I respected as far as their game likes and their interests. I followed them on Board Game Geek, and they just glowed about this game. They said it was just absolutely amazing. And so I remember I read the rules and I said, that seems kind of neat. And then I remember I finally went to a convention where somebody had a copy. And I played it, and the game was fantastic. And of course, as we all know, or I suppose we don't all know, eventually what happened was that game kind of turned into a game called Biblios, which was produced by Yellow, and I did a review of it a long time ago after I finally was able to get a copy of it. I never got a copy of Scripts and Scribes. It was basically one of those things where it was immediately put Steve Finn in my my zone, if you will, my swing radius, and since then I've followed his other games that he's come out with, and I've enjoyed them a great deal. He hit a home run with Biblios, and I always felt bad because it's one of those things where it's how are you possibly going to follow up? It's this game was so amazing. But yeah, he's done very admirably as far as creating games that are still fun and interesting and kind of took a nice little spin on the different genres and the different things of the games. And he always had this ability to make games that were different from what you'd expect as far as, when you hear about the mechanisms and what have you of the game. So when he actually contacted me and told me, hey, I got this new game coming out, it's called C.O.G. It's like a worker placement game. I was like, ho, a worker placement game by Steve Finn. I was like, yes, please send that to me. I want to check that out and I want to play it. And I have played it, and the game is fantastic. It is a ton of fun. It adds, the gut reaction a lot of people are going to say when they see it, they're going to say, so it's like a worker placement Scrabble game. And yeah, okay, fine. I can see why people say that, because of the fact that you are going to have little tiles that have these little letters on them, but it's so much more than that. So let me show you how the game is played, and we'll come back here and I'll talk a little bit more about C.O.G, if you will. Alright, cool. Alright, so here we go. Each player is going to get one of these player boards. Basically, this is where they're going to be creating their own tableau of words that are on here. They have a place to store their victory points. Victory points are stored face down. These are the victory point cards. You store them face down. It's basically so people can't, keep a running track of how many points you have. I guess theoretically, if you're really good at keeping track of numbers or whatever, you could kind of do that. But obviously, over 6 rounds, there's a lot of stuff going on. So probably not going to be able to keep that in your head the entire time you play. There's also a little spot over here for, as you collect these little tiles with the letters, you will fill those out. It has a maximum of 7. You can collect more than that during a turn, but if you ever have more than 7 after a round, you have to discard down to 7. There's also a spot to place these little tokens, these little star tokens. Star tokens are just things that you'll be able to use for a lot of different purposes. Mostly what they're going to be used for, at least in my experience, has been allowing you to turn. You can spend star tokens to turn your tiles, your letter tiles, into wild letters. So you just can turn them over so they can represent any letter. Also, this is a spot over here where you need placing your cogs, or your workers, basically. This is your turn order, and you can kind of steal somebody else's turn order with a cog, or you can protect yourself. You can steal somebody's turn order with a star token, or protect your turn order with a star token. But you can also use them to reroll dice, and there's some other stuff as well. But anyway, so the game is, as I said, it is worker placement, so it is pretty straightforward as far as that is concerned. The way you set up the game is how you're going to see it at the beginning. of each of the turns. And as you can see, there's a little tracker here that will mark that. And you can have these 4 pawns and the player pieces that will be able to go around this track to collect other things as well. So just pretty straightforward is that there's like 4 sides that you will be placing your 4 cogs on. This isn't a worker placement game where you get more workers, so you're always going to have 4. You're always going to place 1 worker on each side. Every player is going to do that. You're not going to place 2 up here or like 3 on one side or anything like that. You're always going to place 1 on each side. So as you begin, you'll just take it, you'll cover up the spot, and you'll take the reward. In this case, like you take that die there. All right, so just to go over quickly what each of the different spots or what each of these little like claim areas are. Over here, you're going to collect the die that is on there. After you collect the die, if you want to spend a star token, you can spend that to re-roll the die if you so desire. If you don't do that, or if you and just accept the pip, or after you roll it, you can only roll once, and for 1 star token, you take whatever the number is. So like if I placed it here, and I took this pink 5, I take that die, I place it there. That's very important. I'll explain why that's important here in just a little bit. And then I would move 5 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like so. And then if there isn't a pawn already on that spot that I'm on, then I get to claim the reward that's on that location. So that's one of the reasons why you might re-roll the die, is if like somebody was there and I didn't want to get the same reward, I could re-roll the die. The iconography, it is like any other game. After you play it a few times, you'll catch on to it. Each of the player boards actually lists the iconography right there on the board, so if you ever have any questions as far as that is concerned, they're right there. Here, let me give you a closer look so you can see like this. You can do wild token, or flip a specified letter, draw a tile from the bag, and so forth. So this one right here, if I landed on that location, it means I get to take one of these 4 tiles that's on the board. When you do that, you immediately replace it with another one of these tiles. You just draw one randomly from the bag and place it on there. I have a plastic bag for it. Everybody just closed their eyes and reached in and grabbed one out of there. I suppose if you used like an opaque bag, it would like really make sure that nobody was cheating, but I don't play with cheaters, so it's not that big of a deal. Alright, so up here in these locations, you'll see that there are like, you claim different things. In this case, like there's letters you claim, star tokens, and there's even over here in this last spot, there is one that is just a wild letter. In actuality, what you do is you put the letter on there, but you flip it over to the other side, and so then it is shown as to be a wild, so you don't even worry about it being anything other than just whatever you want it to be. Over in this spot, this is the turn order spot, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you take the first turn order, you don't get any bonus at all. You just get to go first next round. Here, this one you get a star token. Here you get a couple victory points, and here you get a letter that is placed into that spot. Whatever spot you take, you'll claim the turn order marker. You keep these in front of you to begin with, but you claim those as they are. When you place your cog in this spot, say you wanted to go first, and if somebody else decided they really wanted to go first, they could place their cog and spend a star token here and force you down to the next spot, and then they could go ahead and take that. I'm sorry, I don't have another cog token handy, but they take that location. You don't gain the bonus. Like, so if you had placed yours here and got the star token and somebody forced you down here, you wouldn't get the 2 victory points. You just discard the reward if you're forced down to that spot. If there's another person there, all of you get shoved down. So like, if 1, 2, and 3 were taken and somebody spent a star token to take the first place, all the people would be shunted down to one more row. You can, when you place your cog down, you can place it on top of a star token, and then that protects it, meaning that nobody can take that spot from you if you do that. All right, and then finally down here there are these like 4 little cards that you can take, and these cards are from this deck here, and they're replenished each and every round. The cards, there's 2 types of cards. These are all like action cards. I'll show you some item cards here in just a little bit when I get to actually how you populate your board with your letters here in just a little bit. But these particular cards all have like a certain power. Some cards, like this one, You can see it's like a 3 victory point token, and once per turn, during phase 3, during the activate section. And these are, as you can see, cabinet cards. Once per phase 3, as long as you took the black die, you can activate this, and you can get 3 victory points if you have that particular spot. This is one that is lasts forever, and if you ever collect an H, a P, or a K letter, you can immediately flip it over and turn it into a wild letter, and lasts for the rest of the game. This particular card, if you collect a pip that has a 2 or a 3, you can use it one time during the activation, and you can get 5 victory points. So, interesting thing here is, let's say you had this black 2 and you collected that, you could use it, for this particular card. If you had that card and this card, you could use it to activate for this, and you could use it to activate for the 2 victory points as well. So it has a multi-purpose in that situation. And then finally, this last one, this is just an immediate thing. This lightning bolt means it can be used once. As soon as you take it, you just take the reward. You're going to get 5 victory points, you're going to get a random letter tile, and you're going to get a star token. So those are those. The game continues until each of you has placed your tokens in each of the spot. You get all of your rewards, and then you go down to your your little base here, where you're going to be building words. Now, you're not just building any word. You are actually trying to build the words that are on these cards, these goal cards that you have here. And so, here's you want to spell nut, you want to spell oil, you want to spell pipe. And as you spell those words and place them into your tableau here, you then will cover up these cards, and you'll show that you've collected it. As soon as you've spelled all of the words that are on these cards, then you can turn this card over. You claim the victory points or whatever the reward is, and you flip it over to show that you've claimed it, and put that on on the board right there. The game doesn't end or anything if you manage to claim all 5 of them. I don't think you're going to be able to anyway. But it is one of those things where it is part that. The game ends when you get through 6 rounds, not when you get done with your gold cards. And players are going to claim a varying number of those. Not everybody's going to get all the gold cards. Some people are going to do better than others. Like this one, not only does it give you victory points, but it also lets you draw a tile from the bag. So, I mean, they aren't all just straight victory points. You will notice also, just showing you what this word looks like, you can see these 4 different colored spots in the middle. To begin with, you have to make sure that your first word has to somehow, start in here. I mean, you could start the word could start here and go through, but part of the first word has to coincide one of these 4 spots. Then you are free to go ahead and build out and spell whatever words you want. You can't spell a word that doesn't exist on your cards here, just so you can build it out. You can't do that. And if you can somehow get to here, as long as you place 1 letter, it doesn't over any of these locations, you gain the bonuses. So you get 10 victory points there, you get a couple of tokens and a tile, 5 victory points, a couple of tiles, and this allows you to draw a cabinet card from the deck. And these obviously just allow you to draw a tile. So if you ever get kind of gummed up, you have too many words out here and you can't really build out, you do have the option of taking letters off of your thing, and so you can free up space. But sometimes that can be counterproductive, because then you have trouble building back out to the corners. But sometimes, just because of the lack of space you have, you'll have to do that. There's also another way that you can claim these, and let me find one of the cards. I was going to tell you there's item cards that are in this deck as well. So here you have an item card, and this is pipe. Okay, so you can see there's a picture of it up there, and then you can see the letter P and letter I, and then the P and E are kind of given to you. So if you get a letter P and you get a letter I, you can, at that point, do one of 2 things. You can claim the reward, in which case would be 5 victory points and a tile, or you can use it to fill out one of these spots. So if you have a thing that has a pipe, right there, you could use it to place a token on that goal card. You can't do both. You can only do one with these item cards. So just keep that in mind. Just see one other quick thing. Once you build out a word, so I'm just going to try to so let's see here, nut. Do I have an N? Yeah. So let's say, we didn't have, here. Like we went N-U-T, like so, okay? Like nut. And we used a while to do that one with the T. Now we have a situation later where, like, let's say we had, I'm going to try to build a letter here. That while does not have to stay the same. It isn't like it's like you're like, this is always going to be a T. You could have a situation where you could build like a different word and using that while for something other than it is. For example, let's see here. Here. So if also you built W and then like so, now you can say it's an I. That doesn't negate the fact that you're nut, but now you could say this is now wire. And so then you could take your result and place it on your wire. So just a quick tidbit about the wild tokens as far as those go. All right, so after everybody is done building out whatever they possibly can, you don't have to spell a word if you have the right letters. If you don't choose to, that's completely arbitrary, so you're not forced to do it. But remember, you only have room for 7 letters, so if you have more than those, you have to give them back to the big bag, if you will. But once everybody's done all of their building of that, then you return everything, you replace the cards, you roll the dice, put them in those locations, put the rewards back out here, fill everything back up here so you can do the next round. Start up the next round, do the exact same thing. You do that for 6 rounds. You claim your victory points. Like I said, as you claim victory points, you turn these over and put them face down like that. After the 6th round, whoever has the most victory points will win the game. I found this to be a marvelous combination of worker placement, something I love, and then combine it with like the second level of how having to actually build to get your rewards, if you will. A lot of times I play games where it's like, okay, collect 3 of these cubes, and then you can turn it into this, and then it's going to be worth 7 victory points or like that. But I really liked the kind of fresh take of this one, where I'm collecting these tiles, and then I'm using those to build words, which then, of course, are, which I turn into more victory points as well. So I liked the combination. I liked the difference. And it was, like I said, it just kind of takes that, worker placement genre, adds something fresh, kind of spins it on its ear, and presents a really, really fun game. But let me talk more about that in my final thoughts. Alright, thank you very much for taking the time to learn how the game is played. This isn't going to be a game that is going to be tough to teach. That's one of the things about Steve Finn's games, is they are never really difficult to teach, but they always have those extra levels of complexity that, once again, don't really make the game complex, but they just make the game replayable. They make the game interesting. They make the game to be a satisfying experience that it wants you to get it back onto the table, so you can kind of go at it again and have that experience again. And so C.O.G just kind of reestablishes and reaffirms, I guess. It wouldn't never, reestablish is a bad word, because it would meant that he had lost his establishment. But no, reaffirms Steve Finn's ability to create these games that reinvent kind of the genre a little bit. I hear time and time again whenever I have discussions on my weekly show and things like that, where we talk about there really aren't any new ideas, and I'll fully admit that worker placement isn't a new idea, Scrabble isn't a new idea, but I don't really think this is Scrabble with worker placement. I think that's just a really, really lazy description for this. What I saw this, as I said, it's a game of collection of resources that then you actually use those resources to build. It would be if you had to collect cubes or crystals or tokens of different colors or whatever, and then you had the ability to kind of mishmash them together to create to achieve certain other goals later. And that in and of itself, fully admitting, that isn't exactly novel in any way, but the fact that you're just actually making words, and then the fact that the words kind of use up the spaces that are on your location, and so then you're actually building out towards those little extra goals, and you're, you know, and that isn't even like the entire game. I mean, yes, that's kind of like the end game portion. You're collecting those tiles to use that portion of the board, and like, you know, to build those words so you can claim your goal cards. But the thing is that you can just kind of forego that completely, and you can just go after cabinet cards that are going to gain you victory points, and also cabinet cards that just are going to get you the words anyway. And it's like there are like, and we always look for games that have multiple paths to victory, and it is a very, very satisfying game in which that, like, if you find yourself not really finding the right tiles, if you're not finding, you know, like, and by tiles I mean, you know, the words, letter tiles. If you're finding yourself not getting the right letters, then you're gonna have to go for certain ways that like are gonna like get you more wild letters. You know, collecting star tokens to let you turn those tiles into wild letters. Just foregoing that, you know, portion and going after cabinet cards that allow you to, you know, gain victory points, flat out victory points for like collecting different resources on the board as well. And so there's all these different things that are going on, and then each of them can kind of accredit your total point value and your how well you're doing in the game. And because, and this is, I mean, and I know there's people out there that have problem with this, and because of the fact that your victory points are actually kept secret as the game goes on, there is something very, very good about not actually seeing yourself on the track and seeing like, oh look, I got 97, you got 83, as long as I can get like 7 points this next round, I'm going to win. There is something wonderful about the fact that when you actually get to the point where actually they're counting out the victory points and then seeing who actually wins the game at the very end, makes for a very, very fun part. You can sometimes have an idea, you know, like, oh, you've done really, really well, way better than me, you're going to win. But there's always that time where it's like, gosh, you know, I mean, he had a couple of good turns, but, you know, she had a couple of good turns, and I really had a real bang-up ending. So, man, what's it? And then you finally find out it's like, you know, you win by, like, 2 victory points, so like that. That's satisfying to me. I like that part of it, too. So, it's all those little tiny things, those little tiny parts of this creation that when they all come together, it just makes it for a very, very fantastic and fun time. So there you go. That is C.O.G. If you have any questions about it, go ahead, ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. And until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.